Alrighty, what is up, guys? Evanaldo here. I want to give you an update on Bitcoin, Ethereum. Also want to talk a little bit about the DXY and the S&P 500 as well, because the SPY is looking, the S&P 500 is looking pretty bearish, and the Dixie is looking like it could start to come back up, which obviously would bring crypto down. So that's what we're looking at right now. It's pretty weird. It's not too often, you look at the split RSIs on the 16-hour, and a lot of times, if you just look historically, when it starts to kind of really curve down, gets high and starts to curve down, good area for a short. High and curve down, good area for a short. This one's been a little trickier because look, one time didn't do, came down a little bit, but not much. Second time came down a little bit, but not much. Third time, maybe the third time's the charm here. We'll see. Also, we still haven't hit our major area kind of resistance around, 17.5 to 18K, I would say, that big pocket. Sometimes in the bear markets, you don't quite get, to the big point of resistance. Just like vice versa in the bull market, sometimes you don't get to those big areas of support when you have the corrections on the way up. So that's what we got to keep in mind there. I think once this confirms in 5 hours, probably it would be a pretty good shot that we're, have topped out here and we're headed down, especially with the other things that I'm going to show you. Today, VWAP is curving, kind of starting to maybe curve down a little bit on ETH. You can see it better. Money flow generally all the way from beginning of the November, a month ago, is coming down here. So I think when you come into the red here, this could bring you kind of your last leg down, which I think we will kind of have the last leg down here. Green dot in the 3-day, that's been confirmed. What's really interesting here is the weekly printing a giant bullish div. There is a case, there is a case that we could have bottomed out, and this is going to be that case. Absolutely, that weekly would tell you, especially where money flow is and getting this, gigantic, very not quite a deep anchor wave. It's not going to have the dot on the bottom below here, but this is a pretty big. I believe this is the first time we've ever had a bullish div like this on this time frame. So it is a really bullish thing. Does not confirm for 6 days. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't mean anything until it confirms. But I think it's going to be, if this does confirm in 6 days, a really good time to start to DCA into the market. That could be a really good signal to start to get in. The other thing printing that's interesting is, a 12-day decent bullish div here. You haven't had one, I believe, since May of 2015. So there's that case. There is that case we could have bottomed out. But it's 9 days to confirm, guys. So a lot could happen in 9 days. You could crash down to 14.5 in the next 9 days, and that could be completely gone here. So be careful. That's what I will say on that. So moving on to some of the time frames here, I just wanted to show you as well. I know that we had the blood diamond here. You had the blood diamond on the 22-hour. These typically give you something pretty good. If you look at right there, and that one not as much, but most of these in this bear market have given you what you needed. Sometimes it doesn't come down too much, but here you got it, and then you just started coming up. Could have a delayed effect, and that could be the next catalyst to kind of come down, that delayed effect, and it comes down to like 14.5. This is going to be a big point at 14.5. After that, if you lose that, then obviously these spiral lines mean something, but there's not too much, in between here and the 400 weekly moving average that's almost at 14K now. It's getting up there, so it's kind of that area. But after that, a little bit at 12K, sure, and then really not too much until, if I change my spiral lines, 11K. I know off the top of my head, obviously, that the 500 weekly moving average is going to be a big point. That's at about 11K right now. Don't have a spiral line at that particular area, but then 9K, these areas are going to be huge. After that, you're getting into the 7Ks. I don't think we're going to go that low. So let's not talk about that, at least for now. And yeah, moving on to some of these time frames. Your 8-hour right here, same deal kind of. It's a little bit more bullish, I guess, that this RSI, the lower RSI, is kind of curving up now. Still curving down in the big one. They're still very, on the top one, they're still very split. You don't have a bearish div, so kind of hard to say what to make of this money flow coming up. My gut instinct tells me you're just going to curve back into the red here. Could be wrong, though. We'll see what happens. You could have another leg up to this area. This could be a very, just boring, choppy market. If you come up to there and then come down, yeah, that'd be enough to probably stop a lot of the people out who are going short, and then you come down. It's just a boring kind of situation, which is indicative when there's less trading volume It's December like last year was kind of like this for a lot of it. So that's what we got to look at. Also, I would say a good place to look to potentially go short is the 30-minute here. If this money flow coming into the red would be a good place to look. Also, this 22-minute as this comes back into the red here, good place to look to potentially go short. This combined with some of these red dots and VWAPs makes for a pretty good combination. So yeah. And let's move on to lower time frames just right now. If you do a quick look at some of these, I'd say still, I mean, money flow coming up here, not really telling us too much. Still neutral, a little bit more bullish in the lower ones come up a little bit. We'll see though. And then Ethereum, it's in the same kind of ballpark. It's that same general thing. Do we come up to this area, or have we already topped out? You're in the bear market. Split RSIs here, red dot. This confirms in 5 hours. I think especially if this confirms, just a good shot. We've already topped out. I think daily get choppy back in the red here. This 2-day, starting to curve down with the VWAP money flow generally coming out here. I think that could bring us down. What's interesting though is the 3-day is now in the green. It could be what we need for the bottom. It's possible that bullish div could be what we need for the bottom, or it's just a big bull trap and you curve right over. Could be interesting what happens. I think ETH is a little high. I think ETH is a little high at 1,200. Could be wrong, but I think it's a little high, and I think inevitably we have to come down to kind of these areas. We have to come down quite a bit to the next big place to really see a bottom and really see that rare buying opportunity for ETH. I'm just curious on how these look. Okay, another green dot in the weekly. What's crazy too is I believe on the 16-day, you do have, I'd give it to you. You got, bullish div printing. Doesn't mean anything to me until it confirms in 13 days. This is getting weird, like getting too sideways, too choppy, red dot, green dot, because look at historically, nothing happens too much like this. Kind of reminds me of how Bitcoin looked, in towards the end of 2018 before you had the last capitulation. We could be getting very close to that. That could happen within the next 2 months. Next capitulation down to, between 600 all the way down to probably 300, that kind of area there. And if we look at some of like the, we looked at this before 12 hour, you're about to get another red dot here. It's not going to be a bearish div, but split RSIs usually don't lie in terms of bringing us down big amounts. And then look here, coming into the green, it just doesn't seem to have the legs too much. It seems like it's just going to curve back over kind of. This RSI is coming up, so a lot of conflicting things in this market. Definitely not an easy market to navigate at the moment. But yeah. And if we look at 2 hour, that's coming into the red. I'd find that a bit more bearish, especially how we've kind of lost, lost this spiral line. We could come up, retest the spiral line and then continue downward. That's a big possibility right there. And a little jump up. Seems like this area of resistance may give us what we need, or we come up a little bit higher. Wanted to look at the Dixie right now, which is interesting. Do a quick look at this, and the thing that I kind of like for the bullish case is not printing yet, but you're about to get a bullish div on the 12 hour. 10 hour has confirmed a bullish div. That's a pretty decent sized bullish div. See, this one was not a bullish div, didn't give you what you needed, came down farther, but now you're finally getting bullish divs. Could be kind of like how it was over here. I mean, let's see if we repeat something of this nature. This bullish div from the bottom, that's a 9% increase, 9% increase there. That would bring you right back up to your highs at 114, and it would take some time. That would be into January, even February, but that could bring us down quite a bit for the S&P 500 especially. And look at this, what I was looking at, 4-day, blue triangle down, blue triangle down, blue triangle. If it's like, let's say if it's like that one, that's 20% downward. You could be headed down for a pretty big correction for S&P 500. That'd bring you right down to this general area. And that could hit, March, maybe even earlier, maybe January, February, as the Dixie comes up to, back up another 10% or something. So that's pretty big right now. I think the S&P 500 is going to be more bearish, especially as we lose. It seems like we will lose 400 here, and we will continue downward. money flow, big bearish div right there, money flow coming out. That's kind of almost head and shoulders too. We're looking at what we need to kind of bring us down here. I think we will come down a lot more with S&P 500. And I think that will most likely, I mean, Bitcoin could, spin away and do its own thing now, but that would most likely follow Bitcoin downward to a good amount here. And that could be the catalyst downward to, next big area, which is going to be, like we've been talking about, the 14s. The 14s is the next big thing. So, whether or not we have a pump up to here or just, continue downward, I think there's a big possibility of coming down to this area next. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. Check out my Twitch down below for the live stream. It's going to be on live later today. Check out BITGET. Very good promo going on right now. Also, check out my Discord down below, my exclusive Discord if you're interested in some of my trade signals, exclusive TA. So, yeah, check that out. Guys, all right, I want you to have a good one. Goodbye.